What does climate compatible development mean to you?
Climate compatible development is starting from the perspective of development that brings poverty reduction and economic growth. And in the context of developing countries where climate change is already demonstrating impacts and likely to, with the lock-in around climate change that we're going to be living with over the next decades, is going to drive bigger impacts. Climate compatible development is about integrating those threats and the opportunities of the transition to a low carbon and more climate resilient world into the existing development work. Now, that's a big challenge, and CDKN's been working on this for the last 4 years and finding the concept resonates well with developing country decision makers. Why is that? Because it gets us out of the often futile silos and dialogues and silos of adaptation and mitigation into the heart of people's lives and livelihoods and the future they want to live. So for CDKN, that's what we do. We support developing country decision makers to move towards a climate compatible developed world and country and communities and institutions. And I'm optimistic that much of this can be achieved. We've seen some ambitious change, we've seen some leaders driving change across the private sector and government and other sectors of society. But it's still a very big transition and a long way to go. So we've been lucky to extend our life as CDKN over the next few years. We've got resources to work across a range of countries and a range of themes to take this forward.
What does CDKN have to offer to developing countries? If I were a developing country government who asked you, why should I work with you? What would you tell them?
The power of the network. We're a knowledge network. At the heart, we've got experiences from a very wide range of countries, geographies, disciplines, experiences around the field of climate compatible development. We can offer learnings from that. We've built a whole program of learning. We've produced policy documentation. We've produced information in a variety of media. So whilst we can come and address the specific project in the specific context of a particular place or country, we can bring that comparative learning. And that's the power of the network that we bring. And we have very porous borders. We have a very large number of partners. We have a very large number of expert suppliers who can come in and work with us from around the world. And we have a network of colleagues with offices in many developing countries.
Is there a place for CDKN in 10 years' time?
I would think the answer is certainly yes. Why is that? Because the job of addressing climate change and the job of poverty reduction isn't done. We would like to be optimistic that the job will be done with respect to poverty reduction by 2030 and be part of the movement to have high ambition in the replacements to the Millennium Development Goals, and we'll be working with some of the organisations who are thinking about that. But we are in a world of locked-in climate change. Ongoing adaptation and building resilience to expected future climate change is going to be with us for more than 10 years. And I believe that the power of the network CDKN is one that can make a contribution, definitely supporting others, sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes in a more visible place, is one where we can really make a difference. So yes, we have been given a license by our founder donors, DFID and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands, to extend our life, to reach out beyond the funding that we have now committed through to 2017, to last longer and to do the job. And I think no one would want our network to dissolve. And I believe that we have the capacities and the ambition and the task and the demand that comes to us to respond to over the next 10 years. Let's hope it's no more than that. Let's hope it's over in 10 years' time. But I think my belief is that the job won't be fully done and there'll be much more that we can contribute to.
You've heard these wonderfully inspiring stories from CDKN's country engagement leaders around the world. What are they telling you? That
actions can be taken and there is emerging leadership behind these stories. The stories demonstrate leadership. They demonstrate there is a commitment to put resources. Take Rwanda putting resources behind its own fund to address its own climate change needs. Yes, leveraging international support but also making a really strong commitment. Ethiopia working on that, El Salvador. These are countries that are really getting on with the challenge that's ahead, knowing this isn't a short-term challenge of climate change, knowing there's something to be integrated into their economic development plans and the work of their sectors, and saying, yes, we can work with you and others. The international community has to come in on this, and we're part of that, bringing experience, some resources and networks to bear on the problems. But I find the network, the close network that we have in the 15 or so countries where we're really working at depth in CDKN, and our colleagues who work there, very inspiring. They're, as it were, living on the front line of dealing with these issues of climate change and development at the same time, and telling the story, having a strong narrative, convincing decision makers at national level, at subnational level, but in particular at international level, to make the best use of international resources from both the public and the private sector is critical. We've told some stories in written form. We've got these Inside Stories series. This is a powerful set of stories for those who like to read, but there's nothing better than hearing it straight from our partners directly. And we've got a great team who do articulate the challenges ahead and the opportunities to rise to those challenges.